Peter Budenzik, Peter B, playing Kaisa against Justin M on Annie Darkchild. Peter is a Flesh and Blood player, 3 times battle-hardened champion. He's topped a couple callings, and he's a teammate of mine, so I'm very excited to watch his game, see how he does. But he's been really enjoying Kaisa. He just got back from Flesh and Blood Worlds, and now he's jumping headfirst into Riftbound, really excited about playing Houston, and he's a Vegas local, so he wanted to see test his mettle at the 10K before we get towards Houston, going up against Justin here on the other side. Another Annie. We've seen this deck performing so well so far, and we'll see a different flavor, at least with the starting battlefield from Annie this time. We'd seen Arena's Greatest in our previous 2 matches. This time, Zon Warrens will be the first battlefield for Justin, whereas Peter is going to start out with the Dreaming Tree.
And you were mentioning Peter's accolades. I had a chance to speak with him earlier today. Finished 2nd place in the Battle Hardened yesterday as well. So
he almost made it 4-time.
Close to 4-time. But we have
good
Justin
weekend for Peter.
Starting with the pouting Poro. He's so pouty. Heading to the Zon Warren, so we're going to get that trigger. Decides instead to simply discard the stacked deck and draw a card as opposed to cycling with it. And that is usually a signal that you want to use all of your runes for the turn. And that is the case. Kaisa comes down. And then the 2 runes readied due to the Annie Legend ability. A lot of Annies so far in the early rounds here.
Yeah, tons of Annies. And so far, we've seen the 100% success rate of the Annies being able to find the wins, but this is the first time we're seeing an Annie go up against Kaisa. And I've actually heard a lot of rumblings from the Annie players at this event saying that they don't mind this matchup at all. They think it's completely okay. They think they have a good chance. And historically, what I had heard from Annies was that this was the matchup, this was the reason to not play it. So I'm wondering if there's playstyle adjustments or cards being added that people are really enjoying with this Annie list that is making all the difference, as we are going to see Peter saying, hey, you know what? I do not want this Annie drawing a bunch of cards. We are just going to rip the Falling Star and deal with that Kaisa in the back row, even if that does mean maybe this Pouty Poro gets to stick around, not wanting to deal with that deflect cost. But as he's flicking through these cards, I'm seeing a Cleave, which would allow the Sentry to push in.
Yeah, the Cleave would allow you to clean up the Poro and avoid the deflect as well. Does look like Peter is considering exactly that, does play the Cleave. I do wonder if perhaps, you know, you were talking about how Annies are now saying they kind of want the Kaisa matchup. I believe that Annie has the potential to go underneath it. Kaisa has kind of a reputation of being a very proactive deck, but Annie can have a very similar play style while also being able to ready runes for other spells or combat tricks. So until the Kaisa player gets to the Darius or kind of like Watcher end games, there is an opportunity, I think, for Annie to get that early lead, get that tempo. And here we're going to see Flash save the Poro from this combat.
So Peter is going to be able to get that Conquer, and that is going to be a trigger of Zon Warrens. So it will be a discard and then draw coming through. Deciding what he wants to drop, and it will be a Watcher. I actually like this a lot. I think you don't need Watcher against Annie realistically. No. Having some access to his Accelerate is very good, but the rest of Peter's hand is Darius, and he still has his Kaisa Survivor ready. So he's got some Accelerate answers to whatever Justin would put out, whereas Watcher is going to take a while to get there, and maybe you just don't ever get to that point of that amount of runes that you want to spend on a Watcher, and it's not helping you right now, and then also that you just don't need that -3 to happen.
Yeah, I was just about to point out that the Watcher at the soonest, if you're accelerating it, would be 2 turns from now. And as you pointed out, the -3 is not as relevant. These Annie lists tend to be low on printed might, and then they are, again, relying on either cheap units to get those early starts, and then you back it up with spells. Or as we see from Justin here, cards like Vayne, where the printed might is low, but because of the high assault value can conquer very effectively. Justin moves to that Dreaming Tree. It is uncontested, so it does get a point, goes up to 2. And now we're going to see a Ride the Wind on this Vayne, and I love this play.
Yeah. So gets the Conquer, gets the draw from the Dreaming Tree, from the Ride the Wind, moves Vayne over, readied. Will be able to take this. Peter's tapped out, so that's just going to be an easy Conquer 5 into 1. We'll get the draw from the Sentry, but that will be another trigger on the Zon Warrens. And a Vayne trigger, but she's, you know, of course, not going to be able to be paid for. There's not a rune. When she conquers, you can actually pick up the Vayne and put her back in your hand for 1 energy. However, he is just going to move her home after she's readied from the Ride the Wind.
Yeah. So they're just talking that through because Peter's like, wait, you just came over, but Ride the Wind moves and readies.
What do you mean 3 moves this turn from this unit? Well, that is, entering ready from seeing the Watcher, or the Watchful Sentry on the battlefield. Then the Ride the Wind doing a move from the spell, and then being readied from that, you get to move again. So now Peter's going to have to worry about this 5 might accelerate unit at Justin's base. It is really scary if Peter finds a Falling Star, which I see him flicking cards again. I might have seen him top deck that Falling Star, which is going to be really good at dealing with the Vayne because her printed might is just 2. She gets all her power from that assault.
Yeah. If the Falling Star was going to be targeting both units, this would still require 2. It is a Falling Star, so it should still be 2 runes ultimately recycled due to the deflect.
Yep. When he selects it,
and there's the second.
Deflect.
But still probably worth it. Very efficient here.
And notably, because he ran back with the Vayne, he's not able to gust it out of this Falling Star because of the fact that Gust requires the unit to be at a battlefield. So he's not able to save it with the Gust. Now, granted, you can't really leave Vayne at a battlefield. She's just going to get run over by any unit, so it doesn't really matter. But you do have to remember this with Gust, right? Oftentimes players forget that, hey, Gust does require the unit to not only be 3 might or less, but also be at a battlefield for it to work. And here, Justin may consider trying to go for a Gust on this Raven Bloom. And if Peter did have a reaction speed spell, he'd be able to potentially deal with this, but he does not. Will get this pushed back to hand. And he'll have 4 runes to work with. It may just be a develop Kaisa and pass, and I think that's what he's reaching over for. It feels like kind of the best play that he's got available for him. Try and set up to draw more cards going forward.
Yeah, and I like this because when you're playing against Annie, what you are really trying to dodge is Falling Star if they run it in this situation. Everything else, you're safe to play this non-accelerated back because until it goes to the battlefield, things like Void Seeker can't target it. You might even be able to get some value here depending on what Justin does because we do know that Peter has that cleave in hand as well. So if a unit ends up at a battlefield, Kaisa could potentially like pre-pump to survive something like a Void Seeker on top of whatever's there.
We may see that end up happening if Justin is able to get in, but Peter has at least been able to slow down the point cascade that Annie has been able to do time and time again so far this tournament. And we've talked about it a lot with this deck is what she wants to do is just rush to that 6, win with a Vi Ride the Wind before Kaisa can do anything. And so the Kaisa's job in this matchup is to staunch the bleeding, slow down these points. You are the beatdown in many matchups as Kaisa, but in this one you have to take more of a controlling role. You have to stall out some of these quick units, getting on points, trying to score on these battlefields, and go from there. But it looks like right now Justin is missing on units and having to kind of use this Annie Stubborn going forward. There are some draws available in the hand. Having that scrap heap to get you one further, especially if you're able to get on to the Zon Warrens, that's going to net you 2 draws. And that may be what Justin needs to start to turn this around. And I wonder if Peter is going to go and try and take Warrens away, or if he wants to be on Dreaming Tree to potentially unlock that battlefield for himself. I've talked to him about this a lot. He loves the Dreaming Tree. He loves being able to set up a unit there, be able to have the option to stupefy his own unit and draw 2, or, of course, the cleaves in the early game, but also retreats that he may be having in this deck that he might want to play. But he does kind of notice, hey, this hand could be improved. Let me go to the Warrens and see if I can find some spells, because currently he's just sitting on a stack of units.
Yeah, the only spell in the hand is that cleave, and with no units there, the cleave likely to come down at the Dreaming Tree anyway, so I absolutely love this. Would not be surprised if with the trigger here we see one of these more expensive units get discarded.
Yeah. 2 Darius, maybe drop 1, but he drops the Rain, interestingly enough. He does find a cheaper spell, and I think that's exactly the kind of thing he's looking for, is going to be that Hextech Ray, especially with an Annie Stubborn on the other side being at that exactly 3 might breakpoint.
And this Yordle does start lecturing, draws a card as a result. Might just see, I was about to say the Raven Bloom, and then because of the spell that was drawn, the pass go over. And ultimately, I think Peter's in a good spot. It's 2 to 3 in terms of points right now, and you have one of the locations. Justin whiffing on units as hard as they have means that Peter's been able to kind of close this gap. And the longer the game goes, I feel like it starts to favor the Kaisa player more just because the top end tends to be a bit more impactful. Annie, again, really wants to be aggressive out of the gate. Justin had a good start, but has stalled due to a lack of units.
All right, he's going to head over to Dreaming Tree. That is going to open up the door for Peter to be able to Hextech Ray, but because Justin goes for the cleave, he has focus first as the person starting this showdown. Cleave, unfortunately, though, will not give +3. He is doing this just to draw a card. He is not an attacker, so Assault does not give +3. I'm curious if these players know this. This is a little bit more niche. If you haven't been playing the game a lot, you actually might believe that Cleave would give +3 to this unit because it is moving into a battlefield. But because Peter does not have any units there, there are no attackers and defenders assigned in this moment, and therefore Cleave does not give +3 to this Annie, and it can get blown out by the Hextech Ray. And we'll see if Peter has that knowledge in this moment here. It looks like he does not, as it is just going to be a Conquer, or he doesn't want to spend it. One of the two options.
I was just about to say, this could be a situation where, depending on what else Justin plays, Peter just wanted to sit on the Ray, protect that Kaisa potentially because you still would like to draw some additional cards. At some point, yes, Peter has a bunch in hand, but has been kind of spending the last few turns digging as deep as possible to see if they could get something besides this, double Darius setup here. Darius plus the cleave next turn will be very effective, though.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. There's a lot of these really cool spots that it's maybe a knowledge check, it's maybe a decision. I know Peter has not been playing the game very long, right? He's just started playing Riftbound, and he said he's really enjoyed it. So some of these niche interactions are things he was actually worried about coming into the week that are possible for him to miss, and he's hoping that he doesn't lose too much equity when that kind of stuff happens. And here, this is something that there is such a good reason to be able to potentially hold it back and defend your Kaisa. So we'll see if he continues to kind of play really tight, as we've seen so far in this game, and be able to play around this early aggression from Annie. The hand is now looking very fruitful for Peter. He has a lot of options. A lot of these cheap spells have joined the Dariuses that he's picked up, which is going to completely unlock them. Being able to go with the Cleave, the Stupefy, or the Hextech Ray. He has so many different options for trying to start getting everything online and just putting too much might on the board for Justin to take care of.
Yeah, picking up the Stupefy as the draw for the turn was, I think, very good for Peter because it's a very flexible spell in this situation. Could be used for the Darius, could also be used at that Dreaming Tree to just dig even deeper, as you had pointed out, if you want to put it on your own unit. Kaisa will move back after the Sentry moves up to the Warrens. So again, no Conquer, so no discard draw trigger, but does at least force Justin to deal with that unit when they go in, which would also then allow Peter to draw a card. So signaling, hey, I'm fine with sacrificing this as long as you give me a card, and if not, I'll take the free point. On the other side, though, because of two cards being played, Darius is heading in with the 7 might.
Yep. The only reaction here, right? Correct.
Justin tries to respond with a flash on this Annie, which would also net a card drawn because it is at the Dreaming Tree, and so that is good.
That resolve, Peter will go ahead and score. And the thing with the Dariuses in this matchup is actually Annie can struggle to push over this might when it's not a Darius of her own, when it's not her own Falling Star maybe, or from there it really just has to be like a Vi with the Ride the Wind to kind of push over. 5 is a difficult number for Annie. She's playing a lot of these 2s, these 3s, using push effects, using these retreats, getting around. Cleave is a great way to get around it, but earlier we saw Justin need to use 1 Cleave in order to just draw. He does have 2nd, which can help push this Annie over the might of just a basic Darius, but we do know that there are potential tricks in the hand for Peter at 1 cost. It would not play around a Stupefy. It would not really play around a Ray, just kind of evening things out. And so it becomes a much scarier prospect to be able to push like that. And you're going to see Peter actually reinforce with the lecturing Yordle, getting the tank there as well. So you need to not only push above the 7 here to clear everything out, you can't just try and go in with 5 and trade away into the Darius.
Yeah, I really like this play because doing the math, an assault on the Annie would still not deal with the Darius.
Correct.
So,
yeah, Cleave doesn't get there.
Would go up to 6, but that first 2 would have to go to the Yordle. Very heads-up play by Peter, in my opinion, by reinforcing. Not something you often see with Kaisa lists. Again, they tend to be a bit more conquer-centric, but in this scenario, I think that's a very heads-up game knowledge play. And so niche interactions, maybe not his thing, but very clearly still recognizing value.
And there we got the move trigger from the Merchant, finally able to kind of deal with these scrap heaps. And now Justin has gone to, this fistful of cards. Still was missing a lot of units, but now it looks like he's found a Vi. And I believe, did he have a Ride the Wind in this hand? No, it's a Gust, kind of close artwork, but not quite the same. So not having that Ride the Wind available, any Stubborn already deployed, means that Vi Ride the Wind is kind of off the table unless he can find it off the top. And yes, you can develop the Vi just kind of naturally, but you would be risking a Falling Star and a Kathleen Rain, something like that, being able to clean her up and you not getting the chance. As a second Cleave comes in, that starts to change the math a little bit with this Dreaming Tree play.
Yeah. If, I'll say this, if a Ride the Wind is found between the double Cleaves and all of those Vi triggers, that would be almost a guaranteed double conquer.
Yeah.
So I like this play. Yes, the Yordle, if it's replayed by Peter, would draw him another card, but the Gust to get rid of it means that you can now send this Annie with a Cleave and still potentially get rid of this Darius. Priority starts with Justin and does add the Cleave, but does it after the showdown starts so that this will also cycle, allowing Justin to potentially dig for that Ride the Wind.
Yeah, so able to draw, ends up finding a sneaky deckhand, which could actually come into effect in this game. Very possible that can help find you the win as well. Justin being able to go up to the Magic 6 breakpoint over the Darius. Peter only a single rune, so playing 2 cards is going to be out of the question here. But we know the Stupefy is there to at least try and make this a trade. And I think that makes the most sense. You could Stupefy your own Darius if you think that Justin just has it to draw 2 cards. But if you can allow this trade to happen and draw 1 instead, I think that is a significantly better spot to be in. Yep. So Justin, we know, has plenty of ways to get above this, but he actually allows the trade to happen instead of trying to push over with the second Cleave because he's got the deckhand.
Yeah, I was going to say, I like this just because of the deckhand draw. You can still develop it while there's an open spot, get the value from the deckhand, and then save that Cleave for, again, perhaps a double conquer to close out a game. The deckhand here, I think, is the safest way to go. And Peter picks up another Stupefy, it looks like. Yeah. So still a lot of options for Peter.
So the big thing to start looking at from Justin's hand is he's got 6 runes up, double Void Seeker. So he's got a lot of ways to start dealing with some of these attacks from Peter to attempt to maybe even get a hold to try and help out, get this finish, get this win. But when I look at the hand from Peter, he's got a lot of ways to push in, a lot of accelerate, and it's just a question of does he have enough runes to really access the full power of this hand, as he's going to just start testing the waters by sending in Kaisa, and he's going to pass Focus, which does mean that this Void Seeker is going to be able to threaten here, and the question becomes, do we go for the retreat, or do we say, you know what, this Kaisa can go away, and we'll figure it out from there?
Yeah, Void Seeker trying to deal 4 damage to the Kaisa because it's action speed. Peter not able to respond with the Cleave, so
Correct.
It would have to be the retreat. And Peter is, looks like, calling for a judge. Is probably going to ask about exactly that, because you have to assume of the 2 options you would prefer to just play the Cleave here. But just talking it through.
Is this still considered an attacker at this point or no?
Now, it is worth noting that even if the retreat goes off, you do try to do as much of the card as possible. So I believe Justin would still get to draw the 1.
Here. Is this considered an attacker still or no?
Yes.
And production is telling me that they are asking if Kaisa is attacking here, which definitely would be the case.
Okay, thank you.
And then just trying to figure out the speeds of things, I think, from there.
Correct, because again, if you're asking that question, it's got to be because curious about the cleave, because assault would then trigger, but again, due to timing, has to be a reaction. So retreat.
You will rebuy. You do complete as much of the Void Seeker as possible, draw the card. It looks like that was grabbed off the top there. It might have just been, it looks like there's a Kaisa Survivor in hand now for Justin, which I don't think was there previously, so that must have been the draw. He still has one more Void Seeker, but he is just going to be able to play Darius ready. He's played the retreat, satisfy the condition. So now that is a Darius for 7 hitting the board.
Yeah, I know if you're, again, coming from other games and you're watching at home, Darius says that it readies and gets +2 might when you play the second card, but Darius sees himself because in Riftbound, cards are not considered played until they resolve. And since it has resolved, he's now in play to see the resolution. It's a little bit weird, but it does work, I promise.
Yeah. And Peter's actually going to throw away that cleave onto the Zon Warrens and be able to pick up an additional card after that. You're satisfying the trigger because he does have this Ray that I think he's considering just using. He hasn't used Kaisa so far this turn. It's easy enough to just go ahead and Ray the deckhand, try and deal with it. Yes, Flash, there's certain things that can get you away from this, but he also could just consider sending the Ravenbloom in first. It is at 3 currently.
Well, I think there is the consideration of trying to bait out. Yeah, I was going to say, you see those other runes up, trying to bait out some other sort of removal, and then responding from there because the Hex Tech not great there. So we're going to, I think, cycle this Stupefy.
Yeah.
He's looking to see if he can get enough, but I think this does just put the student at 4, which is not quite enough to push over in this spot.
Yeah, because you would need another reaction.
Yep.
Again, because of the speeds, you cannot play that Hex Tech. So unfortunately, had the sequencing went the other way, the student would have been able to get up to 5.
Yep, because you could have stupefied your Darius in response to the Void Seeker when you push in the student for 4, and you'd actually be able to get around the potential of those 3 runes available of that Void Seeker. And, you know, you already got Void Seekered once this turn, so maybe playing around second Void Seeker had fallen maybe further out of the range for Peter in this turn. He was like, I don't think I'm going to play around the second one here. But he does end up getting punished, loses the Ravenbloom. He still ends up casting the Ray, cashing that in and making sure Justin doesn't get the hold point. Says, hey, if you want to work towards 7, towards 8 points here, you need to have the ability to ready. And it looks like Justin has missed on finding the Ride the Wind to go alongside this Vi. So that might give a window for Peter to still hang on here.
Well, we know that there are, Kaisa options, and I see 5 runes being exhausted, so I think that's going to say an accelerated Kaisa should be coming down. With only 1 rune up on the side of Peter, Justin has to feel pretty confident that this will go through. Gets to the all-important 7th point and draws a card for Justin.
Yep, so Justin able to get in, gets a sneaky deckhand, which can create some more strong opportunities. There is actually a Fighter Flight in hand as well.
I was just about to say, if Justin had 1 more rune, then they could have Fighter Flighted and sneaky deckhanded for the win. Oh, so close.
Yeah, that's exactly the line I was looking at, but he is missing 1. And so he's not able to make that happen. And that does open the door where maybe Peter can still hang on, but that Fighter Flight is definitely going to cause issues as Peter does score to 6 from the hold, has the Darius, but he's going to have to look for a big hold, and that is an Acathian Rain. That is pulled off the top. It would be able to deal with both Kaisas.
It would be able to deal with both Kaisas. I believe Justin did have 2 Kaisas as well, though. So next turn at 8 runes would still be able to accelerate 1 Kaisa and deckhand for a double conquer potentially.
No, he's already got both Kaisas on board, right? So the last card is the Vi.
The last card is
one
the Vi.
That looks similar, and then the deckhand is still going to be strong to be able to try and score, but if you are able to remove everything, it becomes pretty difficult for Peter, though it does look like he's going to try and maybe cast 2 spells instead. Do have the option of going Darius back, play 2 cards, ready him, send it in, take care of Kaisa over on the Dreaming Tree. wants to set up for a potential hold, gets the Yordle
Yep.
on to the Warrens. That's a pretty good pull. Finding the Noxus Hopeful can let you reinforce very efficiently.
Yeah, that might be exactly what Peter needed. We're just going to go
opt for the
Yordle
rain.
and the Rain, so cleaning up both. Unless I'm missing something, though, Peter played the Yordle but did not move the Darius back.
Yeah, potentially messed up the order of pulling the Darius back, unless he just wants to hold with 7. That is also a possibility, right?
I mean,
because Peter's at 6. Peter does not need to score the 7th point here. And Justin scoring Dreaming Tree doesn't matter as long as Justin cannot also score the Zon Warrens, because Peter will always be able to retreat the Darius and then move it back. But I see him shaking his head, and I'm not sure if that's, hey, I forgot to do this with the Darius, or if it's just, hey, I'm at the mercy of whatever Justin's got because I've got 1 rune and no action.
Yeah,
and I think it's maybe the latter.
I was going to say, I do wonder if Peter was also maybe just concerned about having like 1 unit specifically each, having seen 0 fighter flights come out in this, but another stack deck.
Stack deck into stack deck. Still not finding the action needed.
Another sneaky deckhand and or fighter flight. Both.
Yeah, because he's already played 2 actions or 2 cards, so Darius will not be able to come in ready.
So Darius goes back. So we still have this Vi, but no Ride the Winds. Sneaky deckhand will come, which will allow for another draw.
And a cleave to draw even more.
So
that still is exactly 4 runes. So this is 2 looks to try and find Ride the Wind for the Vi. Another draw for the Conquer.
There's the draw for the Conquer.
And it's another Darius. Cannot find this Ride the Wind in so many turns.
Justin's deck looks very small here, so I'm wondering if it's just a limited number of copies. We did see 1 earlier, so this could be a list that maybe only runs 2 and just trying to find that last one.
Yeah, you can also try and maybe hope there's no spells and just play for the fighter flights to defend the sneaky deckhand and try and let it hold for the win now. That's really the opportunity I'm seeing, and I think that Justin's looking at it too. He says, hey, I've got 2 fighter flights. I'm not out of this yet. As long as you don't have a spell to remove my sneaky deckhand, I might be able to deal with this.
And it will also depend on sequencing here, right? Because Peter does have a Watcher, could slam the Watcher down and then still also have something else to ready the Darius, which would give 2 potential swings in, but there's 2 fighter flights. So Kaisa.
He has 1 more Kaisa in hand. He's on 10 runes. 2 Kaisa accelerates. Darius is ready. That's 3.
That's 3.
That's more than 2 fighter flights that we've got in the hand for Justin. Peter going to be able to sneak away with this on the skin of his teeth because of the fact that Justin just could not find this Ride the Wind. It never came home to him. And he's looking, there he is. He's looking for it. He's like, I just couldn't find it anywhere in the deck.
Oh.
So Peter's able to grab game 1 against Justin. Able to hold on just long enough, but really Justin hoping to find that Ride the Wind for so incredibly long. The struggles of Justin to be able to get that done. I mean, you saw him trying everything, right? Dreaming Tree, playing the cleaves over and over, cycling, drawing, continuing to find as much as possible. We'll try and see if Justin's able to do more in game number 2 as we're going to jump right back in. Let's take a look at the battlefields that we've got to start things out.
Yeah, I will say hats off to Justin. Even though that was a loss, it was very well navigated in my opinion. Definitely played to the outs, played through some struggles. The battlefields here, we have the arena, so both players after their first turn have 1 point. On the other side, we have Reaver's Row.
Yeah, and last game, Justin just trying to get over the hump with the Ride the Wind, ends up finding it in the opener this time around. So if he can hang on to that for the entire game, he will have the option to look for that win with Vi. Now he just has to find the other piece, but the hard part against Kaisa is getting to that 6 points, and Justin accomplished that first goal, just unable to find the rest of the puzzle to get things done. This time going to start out with the Kaisa Survivor. Peter does have the ability to go ahead and score first, as it looks like Justin did miss a 2-drop going first in Arena's Greatest, which is very tough for him as he is going to Gust, but have to pay the deflect on the Pouty Poro. So while Peter won't get the point, he will get some value out of this Poro, as he does still have the ability to play 2 units. And once again, Peter valuing the Falling Star into the Kaisa against Annie, does not want to allow these draws to happen, and he's able to still follow it up with the Noxus Hopeful and get some material on the board.
Yeah, the Hopeful is a very nice pickup here when you can play it off of the Legion. Paying simply 2 energy for 4 might is crazy value. We do know Justin is running those Void Seekers, made great use of them the last time around. I believe there's also one in hand, so potential answer there as well. Develops a Pouty Poro on the side of Justin and then just readies those 2 runes, so we'll have all 5 available as a defense mechanism.
All right, back over to Peter's side. Going to move in with the Noxus Hopeful onto Reaver's Row. It will be a Void Seeker. There is that retreat available if he wants to keep the material around it, and this combination is very powerful, right?
Yes.
You pay the 1, you ramp a rune, and now you've turned on your Noxus Hopeful so that you are just basically paying 3 to play a new Noxus Hopeful at home, and you've ramped a rune on the turn.
Yeah.
It's quite good. It's quite good for a single card.
It is quite good. It's also a great use in this particular matchup because this is one where you're less worried about, say, a Falling Star like you would be in a Kaisa Mirror. A lot of folks like to save the retreats for those kind of blowout plays, but against Annie, just denying something like a Void Seeker is also good value. And Justin, first one on the board, not counting, of course, the points that both players gained from the battlefield. We'll see if Justin can navigate the mid-game a little bit better this time around. Again, in Game 1, got a good start, and then we saw a lack of units in the middle, kind of slowed things down, and then, of course, couldn't find that ride the wind to close things out. But I was saying, Justin, I think, played very well, navigated it nicely. Here we have the Darius, and again, sees itself as the second card, so we'll be able to send that over. With 1 rune available on the side of Peter, this is likely a successful conquer, taking Justin to 3.
Yeah, able to get there. Anti-trigger, ready those 2 runes at the start. We did see a Rebuke in the hand of Justin. This is oftentimes a one-of in this deck, something that sometimes only comes in from the sideboard, and it does cost a lot of power. It costs 2 power to be able to cast it, and it can be really good against big units, and I was curious about it being brought in against Kaisa, and we'll see if it ends up making an appearance in this matchup, as Peter does have 6 might on board, going up against a Darius holding, and then the Poro, of course, on Reaver's Row, always can just back away whenever Peter sends something in. Looking at his hand, he does have some Accelerate threat in the Kaisa Survivor. He also has it from the Champ Zone, and it looks like that's also a Sprite Mother, which that feels pretty nice to be able to push in maybe with something else into the Darius to ensure that you can clear it away, or even just into the Pouty Poro. You push her back, and then moving it onto a Reaver's Row where you might retreat anyways seems like a decent use, but just trying to grab some point tempo against Annie, keep with as much parity as possible.
So Reaver's Row triggers for Justin. We'll decide to just save the Poro. I'm glad you called out the Rebuke. That's a card that I'm very high on as far as like sideboard options, because it can enable some pretty big blowout turns, especially against like all-in Watcher plays. And I have to imagine that's why Justin brought it in. But now we have Darius played by Peter, which again sees itself, readies, and is sent in. However, Justin is going to use that Ride the Wind.
Yeah, this is the blowout. This is the Ride the Wind. This is why you put it in the deck, right? You're able to evade the Conquer, or evade the combat from Peter's Darius, and now you get to start one against a Sprite, and now you get to score it and go up to 4. And now you get ahead on points. We talked about getting to 6 being so important in this matchup, being able to get ahead on that point tempo. And this has got you from what was a bad break point at 3 to a good break point at 4. And it's going to be tough already for Peter to try and actually push past. I mean, yes, he has 6 might that it can go into the 5 of Darius, but Justin just gets to say, all right, I'll take this home. And now Peter's a little overextended into Reavers in the sense that he has 2 units there, so only 1 gets to stay. right?
Yep.
Or only one gets to leave, rather, right? You can't retreat both of them when
Correct.
someone swings into Reavers.
Yeah, Reavers Row says that only one unit can get that trigger. So should Justin attempt to retake this, and I imagine that will be the case, at least one unit will go away. Peter asking to see the trash on the side of Justin, just wants to kind of see what's already been played. Noted that Justin was trying to find that ride the wind at the end of the game last time, so was maybe seeing how many was, just played now, doing that math. Oh, okay. So on the side of Justin, we have a Kaisa, but we also have a Vane, so a lot of good accelerate options here. And a Cleave. So if the Darius also wants to go up to 7 might, some ways to make that happen as well.
Yeah, I mean, Peter on the other side, completely tapped out. So this is just kind of at the mercy of what Justin wants to put together. Going to put the Cleave on the Darius, it looks like, so sending it up to 8. We'll be able to push it over the top. He wants to be able to retreat this. So play the Cleave now, send it up to 8, push it above the Darius, and now the next card you play will ready Darius, and you can bring him home ready for the next turn, as you are just looking to go up to 6 here, and then you want to have as much material back ready to go to push in to try and score the winning point from there. It is going to be a Vane going to be played as the second card. She will come in ready, seeing the Poro and the Hopeful, and that is 5, 6, 7 with the Poro into Poro plus Hopeful, which is just going to be 6. That does allow Justin to be able to try and take this down.
And there's 1 rune up for Justin, so I believe that means the Vane has the possibility to be bounced back as well.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave that. I mean, yes, you do have the Reavers Row, so you could just take that as the trigger, but you kind of don't want to leave it out in the open, perhaps for spell removal, right?
Yeah.
It is vulnerable to Hex Tech if you leave it there, so we'll wait and see if that is the choice.
I like
Justin
bouncing
makes.
her here, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm a big fan.
I would accept both answers. I would just be worried about leaving it there because, again, it is just a printed 2 might, but Justin says, I will rely on this Reavers trigger to save it.
I mean, it looks tough over on the side of Peter. That looks like just 3 cards. Hopeful, the Stupefy. Kaisa's going to be able to, or the Vane is just going to be able to run away. Justin at 6. We'll be able to push back in, find those last 2 points.
Yeah, Justin looks like will not be punished with no Hex Techs, no Void Seekers, none of that on the side of Peter. Does have, accelerate options.
Yep, 4 into 2.
I was thinking to myself, there could be a scenario where perhaps Peter wanted to accelerate a Kaisa to the other location just to draw, see if you could find that answer before forcing it back, but instead just sends the Noxus Hopeful over to the Reavers Row. Justin retreats Vane.
It does feel like the Kaisa option is really the only thing
Yeah.
available. You got to dig. You got to find something to make this work.
So
go up to 5.
Chosen Champion Kaisa, the one played. Just noting that because Peter does also have a Kaisa in hand as well. Draw from the Conqueror.
Yeah, it's
I
just
believe
Yordle.
was a Yordle, a Lecturing Yordle. Might still also get played here. This is kind of a tough call. You could leave the runes up just to, again, perhaps try to fake your opponent, bluff a little bit. Hey, I've got some answers. But the reality is you don't. So we could see a situation where perhaps it's reinforce with the Sprite Mother, and then it could be a Yordle to draw a card and leave the 1 up for the Stupefy.
No, I mean, I think you just have to go highest might value. So Hopeful, and then hold up Stupefy.
And then hold
if
up?
you get
Okay.
really lucky, you actually can rip a 1 cost off the top, which can make a really big difference. And here you can rip a Ray, you can rip a Stupefy, like a second Stupefy, which could matter. And it looks like you just try and hold in this spot. I think Justin is pretty much always getting over here. Sprite Mother going to stay home as well, which I think she had to get into the action.
Well, perhaps Peter's fear is Tibbers.
No.
I'm just saying.
No.
There could
Nobody's afraid of Tibbers.
There could be a 1 Tibbers in there.
Nobody's afraid of
You're
Tibbers.
playing against an A.
I will let me get like destroyed by Tib. If Tibbers wants to get played and I lose the game because I overstacked a battlefield into Tibbers, I will lose that game 10 times out of 10. I'm
Okay,
happy.
that's
I'm happy
fair.
to lose to it. That's fine. If you put Tibbers in your deck, you can beat me with it.
I'm
That's
just saying I don't fault Peter for not jamming it, but I do agree. I think that Sprite Mother probably did also need to go in. I like leaving the one hopeful at Reaver's Row just because you get that trigger back, and
Look,
you really just have
this
to
could happen.
keep Justin from
This
2
could happen.
points.
He's got the Stupefy. This is just 5 into 4. He can try and make Justin flinch. Try something. Spell check in here. Say, hey, do you have something to make this go above the 4?
I think you have to do this, honestly.
No, I agree, but you have to check him. You have to say, hey, do you have it? Because Peter just finds a Darius. He doesn't find an extra 1 cost. But if you can stop Justin from double conquering, then he still has a shout in this game.
And not only could you stop Justin from double conquering, but now if Justin doesn't have a way to go over top of the other units, you'll get a hold point and close the gap a little bit more as well.
Yeah, it looks like there's a Kaisa Survivor in hand, so Justin at least has another Accelerate option. And he could look to draw more and maybe find, if he has another Cleave, another copy of Cleave in the deck, that could be a draw off the top to find. There's also the ability to Annie Stubborn and try and grab any spell you want, but I'm not sure that there's any spell that
There is a Ride the Wind in there.
amazing here. There's a Ride the Wind, but it doesn't really get you over because you have to get over 8 right now. Annie Stubborn for Void Seeker. And then that allows Darius to push over, but you're not winning. You're just kind of clearing everything out. And that is going to be the option.
Does look like that's going to be the case.
It's a nice, clean answer to one of the 4s, and then Darius gets to push in. Deal with the other. He's thinking about if there is a reason for stack deck, but no, it is just going to be the Void Seeker.
Now, Void Seeker does also let Justin draw, perhaps trying to find answers for the next turn.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
7 to Reaver's Row. Still wants to keep the Darius safe. He knows Peter is not going to win from 5 here. He'll go to 6, but only able to push it 1 more from there. And then Void Seeker to Kaisa. Make sure that nothing else happens. Just try and deal with a little bit of the base.
Justin just drew a sneaky deckhand as well. So that's important because if you're trying to go for a double conquer win.
So going to the empty battlefield so that he can actually re-ready Darius, bring it home.
Yeah.
Wanting to play around any at a battlefield spell effects that could come through. Though realistically, I'd say Falling Star and a Cathian Rain are the most dangerous to a Darius. Most of the at battlefield ones are not too frightening.
I mean, we do see a Ray in the hand of Peter. So it's, again, just something you don't have to worry about. While the other 2 are definitely the real problems.
All right. So now Peter just has to look to hold, right? He's got 4 on Arena's Greatest. He can play out much of the hand. I think he might want to look and see if he can find another spell. That's not a spell. That's, in fact, another Bearded Gentleman, another Yordle.
So this might just be Yordle and Kaisa reinforcing.
Yeah, you could Yordle to see if you get maybe a Falling Star. I think that might be something that's actually better to play than reinforcing.
Well, and so that's why I was thinking at least the other Yordle just to dig a little bit more.
Yeah, because you could go Yordle Kaisa, but Yordle gives you the opportunity to see, whereas Darius is just 5 in the spot. Yordle Kaisa is at least 6, and you get the optionality of seeing 1 more draw.
If you wanted to do the Darius, it could be because maybe you want to leave runes up for Hex Tech. Again, we do know that there is the Ray. So I believe that's the plan.
Yeah. 5, 9, 10, 11. Ray to deal with Annie if she pushes in. But also remember, Justin has to deal with the Sprite Mother on Reavers. It's not just get over this 11 might. You also have to push the Sprite Mother out. And that Ride the Wind you were talking about, being able to find it with the anti-stubborn. That's off the table now.
Right.
You've already played the anti-stubborn. There's no Ride the Wind.
So currently 8 might available on the side of Justin. Should 2 cards be played, and I have to imagine that that will be the case, we'll jump up to 10. But that alone is not enough to clear out the arena. And as you pointed out, also still have to deal with the Sprite Mother on the other side. So Darius is going to try to initiate over here with the Sprite Mother, and Peter decides to Reaver's Row back. Interesting. I thought there might be a situation where there's a consideration to leave the Sprite Mother and play the Hextech there.
Yeah, there is consideration, right? Because,
well, Justin would have had to have 2 reaction speed spells to save the Darius.
yeah, to push the Darius up to a 7 and get away, and that's just so much of the resources having to be used to do that. But even here, even if he can ready Darius, he can't get Darius back over. Well, he can actually. Fight or flight to push Darius back to the base.
Yeah.
And then Darius can be readied with the second spell and move into Arena's Grave. So actually, I think I like your line a lot of just raying there and saying, hey, play 2 reactions right now.
Right now, or don't get this. Like, in my mind, when I was thinking of the line,
and he's going to scoop. He doesn't actually have it.
Does going to scoop. So my thought process there is simply, if they have to overcommit to the one side, there's still 11 might on the other. So I would have liked that, but ultimately Peter does come away with a 2-0 victory. So